Hello everyone and welcome to today's video. We made it to video number 2 in this channel and I'm so excited because I had so much fun recording the first video and you guys actually liked the content. So here we are again, and today we'll be talking about the 10 most popular book talk fantasy series and what I think about them. Bear in mind, it is just my opinion. Let's go. I hope you guys stay and get along in this journey. And without further ado, let's get on with this video. I think the best way to start this video is to address the elephant in the room, which is Miss Sarah J. Maas. She's one of the biggest authors in the fantasy world, and honestly, I started my dive into fantasy with her, and I could not be happier. She has a great books, great series, and it kind of explains the base of it, and then once you move on to other books and other authors, you already have a long and big base of knowledge about fantasy world. So talking about the first series, that for me is Ekotar, which stands for, like I said, A Court of Thorns and Roses. It's completed by 5 books. I read all 5 of them. I have them in special editions and I absolutely loved them. Regarding if they are worth it, the answer is yes. So we are looking into a human girl and a fae world, and then they kind of combine. If you don't know anything and if you don't want any spoilers, just move a few seconds ahead. This girl faces so many challenges and faces so many and encounters so many problems, I would say, because she's just special and who is her mate. So it kind of becomes a whole thing, and she goes through trials, she goes through torture, and all of this just culminates in a big love story. So this is mainly the first 3 books. Then you have the 4th book, which is the smallest of the whole series, and that it's kind of a holiday novella, I would say, in this special and magical world. And it's kind of, for me, it's kind of the end of that era, of that series. The other book, the 5th book, becomes like the story of the eldest sister and her life after everything changes, after Tahereh kind of goes into this fae world. So for me, this is an absolutely one of the biggest recommendations I could make about fantasy romances, so a romantasy. Obviously it's packed with action and it's very challenging because sometimes books are really big, but they are absolutely worth it. Regarding her writing, she has a very light but very interesting light writing, and it's just so special because it's just, I don't know, it just makes it fun but at the same time extremely meaningful. Moving on, we go up to one of my favorite series of all times, written by the same author. So we have Throne of Glass. This is an 8-book series and I absolutely love it. There's also 2 books in that series that you can read at the same time. So what I did, I read a few chapters and then I read a few chapters of Tower of Dawn, and it kind of mixed it up a little bit until I stopped and read one and completed the other later. But that is your opinion. You don't have to do that. You can absolutely just read one and then the other one separately, before or after. It doesn't matter. But I did it that way. I think it's the easiest way to kind of follow the story on the timeline and not just do one bit and do the other when they are happening at the same time but in different parts of the story, so with different characters. If you don't want spoilers, I suggest you move a few seconds ahead and just ignore this part. This is a story about an assassin that is an orphan and kind of integrates the human world without, you know, kind of advertising that she is special and that she's fae or half fae. So she kind of blends in the normal world and goes and flies under the radar until she starts working as the king's assassin. There's several male characters in the series. However, for me, the main one, it's gonna be a Rowan. So that's gonna be her mate, and it's probably to this day one of my favorite main male characters in the fantasy genre of all time. All of this together kind of puts this book on top for me, and for me it's always going to, again, I always say for me because it is true, it's just my opinion, not everyone thinks like this and that's fine, but in my opinion this series, it's still one of the greatest series of all time in its gender. Moving on, we have another series that's also very popular in the book talk community. However, I'm going to give you the heads up. I'm not going to be reading anything else from this series or from this author because I honestly did not like it. So we are talking about the Folk of the Air series, also known as the Cruel Prince series. So that is a 3-book series. And I think there's a fourth one that's related, but kind of it's the beginning of the new series with the characters of this series. I did not like these books. I honestly didn't. So you have Jude and Carden, I don't remember exactly his name. That's how good it was. So I read this series because, again, it was really popular and I was really interested. The first book, I did not like it. I was really bored. The writing, there's a very boring prose to the writing, which I do not like on a fantasy series at all. And then there's so many twists to the story. There's practically no development of the characters, and I just couldn't find it in me to get attached to any of them. And that's a problem. When I start reading a book and I don't form a connection with any of the characters, not even the main characters, it just creates a barrier for me. And I really did try. I did finish all the 3 books. However, I did not enjoy a single moment of them. I found it very boring. I did not understand a single thing about the relationships and what was happening. And I don't know. It was just not for me, and that's fine. Up next, we have another series that's very, very popular in book talk and in the world, I think. And to be honest, we spoke a little bit about it in our first video. So we are talking about the Powerless series. So it's a series of 3 books. So we have Powerless, Reckless, and Fearless. And then you have 2 other books, which is Fearful and you have Powerful. Those 2 books are kind of novellas, and they are what they are. One is really good, the other one I absolutely hated it, I'm not gonna lie. But the series as a whole, it's really good. I liked it. I would still give it a 4.5 stars overall, and I recommend it maybe. And as a series, I liked it. Okay, however, books individually, that's another story. So you have book 1, which is Powerless, and it's a really good book and reads very easily. Her writing is really good, very flowery writing, and I like that. They're also action-packed, which is one of my most important aspects of a fantasy book, and she has that. She also has important characters, and their personalities are really, really, really good, and they are so special. I don't think I've read a character such as Peyton Gray, to be honest. It's really good, and I loved it. And then it ends in a cliffhanger, and I was desperate. And then second book comes into the picture, which is Reckless, and I did not like it. It was boring. I was struggling to get through. There was so much happen, at the same time nothing happened. I know it doesn't make sense, but if you read it, you'll get it. If you have this opinion, obviously. So it wasn't for me. I powered through, I finished because I'm like, I'm gonna finish the series. I love the first book so much, so I'm gonna finish it. And I did. And then you move on to Fearless, and it's actually quite a good book. I absolutely despise Kit, but that's my personal opinion. Not everyone thinks about that. The ending was heartbreaking. Yes, it was, even though the Kit ending was really, really bizarre. But it was a good book. It was entertaining. It was fun. Most of the time I was a bit lost of where she was going with the finale. However, she made it. It was good. Then I read a book 1.5, which is Powerful, and I was obsessed with it. I was absolutely obsessed. I loved all the characters. I loved how it turned out, even though it was a very tragic ending. It was really, really good. Perfect. Absolutely perfect. And then I read Fearful, because I thought, you know what, the series was good. Just the second book it was not my favorite, but the other novella was really good. So let's read this one, and I was so excited. And then he, just like Yana said, and I see her videos. It could have been an email that I would never read, and she was absolutely right. Up next, we have the Wicked Game series, and this series, it's one of the most modern fantasy series around. So it's one of the new ones, let's just say. So this is includes Phantasma and Enchantra, and I give it 5/5. I absolutely love the series. I was so obsessed, and contrary to everyone's opinions, I prefer Enchantra. Don't want spoilers, move a few seconds ahead, because we're going to speak a little bit about the books itself. So they revolve around special mentions. They are kind of, you go kind of into circus, and then but they are special. So includes phantasmas, they includes ghosts, and I don't know, appearances, and I don't know, there's so many. The list of creatures in these books are huge, and they are all very different. So it kind of becomes a whole new world of fantasy, of things that are different from, like, example, from fae, from magic, all of that. So it's a different kind of fantasy, and I absolutely loved it. I read them this year very recently, and they are so good. Her writing is intense. So this is kind of a gothic kind of fantasy, and the writing is intense. I'm not gonna lie. They are not hard to go through. They are not that big. They are about 300 something pages, if I'm not mistaken, both of them. However, her writing is intense. The story is intense. I think the best quality in her work is how she transcribes, like, the feelings of the characters just pass on to you. That's how good she writes, and I absolutely love that about her. The two books are the sisters, and each of them go into this magical mansion, and they have to face some challenges, some trials. A lot of things happen. Again, they are very action packed, and they come out different people with the new reality, and they fall in love with the main characters, the male main characters. They are in dimensions, so both of them, that happens in both of situations. There's also devils involved, and hell, and the prince of hell, and it's all very chaotic at the beginning. And once you get used to the characters, it just becomes at least for me, it became my whole personality. The plot twist all the time, and that's so special. I absolutely loved it. Between one and the other, the plot twist in Phantasma literally caught up to me so damn fast. I never saw it coming, per usual, but it was so special, so special. So I was really happy with that. And then you move on to Enchantra. The plot twist is not as big. However, you have more relationships happening, more different personalities. You have the grumpy brother, you have the smaller brother, you have all this plot twist that they prepare against the main villain. Oh, and it's so. Do I recommend it, you ask? Yes, I absolutely do. I love it. I absolutely love it. I would say it's probably one of my favorite fantasy series of this year. So I've read a few, and this was my favorite of 2025. So there's that. Up next, we have a series that it's quite big, and I did not read it this year, and I think maybe I was not in the right place to read the series. However, we are talking about a Red Queen series. There's, if I'm not mistaken, 6 books, one of them being a novella. I read it, and I do not recommend it. So I read the first book, which is Red Queen, and you see the cover, you see the back, and it's really good. Again, it makes me reminds me of, like, Hunger Games, but with powers and magic, and kind of a uncovered air. It happens a lot, and that's good. However, it becomes nothing. Simple as that. Becomes nothing. I started to read that series, and I initially loved it. The first book was amazing. I moved on to the second book. Again, very action packed. I was so excited. Let's go, more books. I read the second and I'm like, interesting. Maybe I was not right about the series. So move on to the next one. And I hated it. And I still kept going. And then I moved to the fourth book. And it took me a month and a half to finish the book because I read like a chapter and I had to be a few days without reading because that's how boring it was. That's the most honest opinion I can give you. I did not care. So I finished the series. I gave it like 2 or 3 stars, I think. I think it was 3 stars. Again, it's just my opinion. And if you have a different one, I'm so happy for you. But it was not the series for me. It also is the very dense writing with a very boring prose to it. So that does not help either. And because the books are so big, it doesn't help either. So I think there was a lot of factors, and maybe I was not in the right space of mind to read it. Moving on to a series that it's still not finished, we have This Woven Kingdom. So the books are now 4. The 4th one just came out, which should be here somewhere. I'm not gonna lie, I remember loving the series. I don't remember much of what it's about. I remember the ending of the last book, and I remember being engraved in my head because I was not expecting it. But I cannot tell you exactly what this is about because I don't remember. I remember that I absolutely loved it. I was obsessed with the first book. I did not know about it until I saw on my bookstore close to my house the 3rd book, and it looks so pretty. So pretty. And I thought, I want that. Then I discovered it was a series. I got into it and I absolutely loved it. I remember the ending of the 3rd book, and it was such a cliffhanger. However, I already saw on TikTok that the 4th book is even worse. So, I'm not sure if I'm mentally prepared to read that book. So, it's something I have to work through first before getting into it. However, telling you about the book, I absolutely love it. I remember, from what I remember, there's this girl that she didn't know she was special to the kingdom and that she had powers, and then she discovers a whole new thing. I'm pretty sure it involves dragons, and magic it involves for sure, but powers, I'm pretty sure it involves dragons and other realms and kind of arranged marriage in between. If I am mistaken, I'm so sorry, probably I'm confusing you with the Yarros here, but I'm pretty sure I'm right. And then there's like this change, and I remember initially loving the first main male character, and then my opinion shifted very quickly, and the supposed villain became my favorite character of the book. So there's that. And I thought that was really special because that doesn't happen often, because even with other series that the main villain becomes the good one, actually, I usually already like them, which happens in a series we're going to speak next. However, this one, I did not see it coming, and I honestly remember my opinion shifting in the middle of reading the series. So that's good. It kind of surprises you, and that's really, really, really good. So, regarding that, I remember the writing. The writing was a very flowery writing, however, dense. Kind of not dense as in that you struggle to read, but dense as in it's a very flowery that there's a lot of meanings in probably one sentences or one paragraph. And that's really special. Not every author can write that well. So I thought that was really, really special. And that's one of the reasons that I dived so fast, so hard into the series. I absolutely recommend it. It's a big, big, big yes. I absolutely love it. And the covers, just go take a look at the covers. They are so pretty. So pretty. I love it so much. Then we move on to one of the most, if not the most, known, loved, and popular series in the fantasy world of all time. And obviously, I am talking about the Empyrean, which is the 4th Wing series. The Empyrean series currently has 3 books, which is 4th Wing, Iron Flame, and Onyx Storm. It's going to be a 5-book series for what we've heard. It has not been confirmed or denied or any more news on the next book. However, these 3 will fill you up so hard. After I finish every single one of them, I could not read the book for I don't know how many weeks. That's how good it is. That's how the plot twist so much. This series, it's one of the most special series, not because involves different species, because it does, and we see series with dragons and everything all the time. However, what the most important part in this series is their relationships. Not only as the main character's relationship, which is a love relationship, and it's absolutely obsessing to read about that part. However, it's the other relationship that exists, the relationship with the dragons, the relationship between friends, between family, and the plot twist all the time. It's so, so, so good. So you already know that I'm going to recommend it. However, prepare yourself for heartbreak. I think that's one thing that Rebecca Yarros cannot do. It's not deliver heartbreak. I think it just comes with her. I don't know. It just comes with her. There's heartbreak in her romance books, there's heartbreak in her fantasy books, there's heartbreak everywhere. So, however, it just becomes worse because you fall in love with the characters, with all of them, not just one, not just the main characters. You fall in love with every single one of them, even the ones I hate. When something happens, I'm like, oh no. So yeah, it's quite a good series. Her writing, however, is intense, light but intense. That's special, at least for me. Again, remember, only my opinions. Not if it's not your cup of tea, sorry. And this time I really mean it. I'm really sorry that you don't get to enjoy Rebecca Yarros like the rest of us do. To be honest, Onyx Storm, I was expecting him. The plot twisted. However, it was not something that I did not expect. So everyone was really shocked for what happened. But when I started reading that book, I kind of felt like this is going to be a goodbye love letter. And it was. So I was expecting the end, and how it was going to happen, not so much. The end, I was expecting it. And it was still heartbreaking, and that's a phenomenon. It should be. The way that you fall in love with the characters and then Rebecca Yarros take them from you. It's just heartbreaking, just like the Liam. Who does that? Who breaks the reader's hearts like that? It's just wrong. However, let me show you my little turn. Okay, I'm gonna behave, I promise. Except when it comes for me, because I absolutely do recommend this series. So if you have not read it, go ahead and read it, because it's the most perfect series of all time. I'm trying to chase some special editions of these books. So that's how much I love it. It's how much I love it. Do I recommend it? Yes. Her writing is amazing. It's flowery, but it's intense, but light at the same time. So there's a lot of meaning to each word. The relationship between all characters are absolutely extraordinary. The relationship between humans and dragons, then, is just again otherworld, perfect. The story itself, amazing. I'm obsessed. So if I'm obsessed, you should be obsessed. If you're not obsessed, I don't know what's wrong with you. Just go read that book. Stop watching my videos. Just go read that book. Last but not least, we have a series that I talked about also in the previous video. However, I just finished the book that I was reading, and it's book number 6. This is not a finished series, and I understand people's opinions about not reading it because of that. However, I could not help myself, and honestly, I'm really happy I didn't. So I'm talking about From Blood and Ash. So this series, it's composed by 6 books at the moment. I just finished the 6th book, which came out in September. I waited almost a year for that, or more than a year actually. If you don't want spoilers, move on. But if you want to know, come, I have tea. So it's about a girl that lives, and she's considered a chosen person, and she's very considered to be special. She's veiled and protected from everything and everyone in the world. She doesn't really understand why, and she doesn't really agree with that, but why would she? And because of that, she kind of tends to look for more things in life, and she does, and she finds love, she finds other species, she finds so much more. And that's when the main male character gets in, and that's when he comes into picture and changes her whole world and changes her perspective. Everything that she knew just becomes everything just changes. The main thing about this book, I would say, and what attracts me most is the relationship between her and the other species, because she becomes kind of special, and or at least we find out that she's actually very special, and she creates this relationship with werewolves and with the vampires, and with there's gods and deities involved, there's ancients, there's fates involved, there's magic, there's dark magic, there's so many things happening in these books, and that's extremely special. I think that's probably what stands out more in the whole series. Again, it's not a complete series, so there's still way to go, and we don't know a lot about the next book. However, there's a second series which is from Flesh and Fire, if I'm not mistaken, which is a series you can read in between. So there's the first three books, one of the series, and then another books, and the other series, and you can read it in between. I didn't. You can read them separately, perfectly fine. There's characters from the other series that pop in, and if you read, it becomes a little more clear for you. However, I did not read it, and I had no problem. It was absolutely fine for me. I absolutely love it. I would recommend this series, I don't know how many times. To this day, it's my favorite series of fantasy of all. Not my favorite, my second favorite. No, it is my favorite fantasy series of all time. Uh, there's just a but, which is the main characters, the female and male character, um, have a romantic relationship. However, there's a third person to it, and nothing happened until now, but we don't know further, and I believe it's going to happen. So sometimes that's a big setback for a lot of people, and I absolutely understand. It's not treated as being unfaithful or kind of cheating on one of them. It's not perceived like that. It's perceived as it just because of the relationships that they have and what they mean between werewolves and vampires. They are connected from birth. They have a bond, a very strong bond, which they call bond and wolf. And that's just when she meets the main male character, he already has that bond with that werewolf. So they kind of become a love triangle, but not really. So I understand why that would put some people off, and that's fine if it's not your thing, and that's absolutely fine. For me, it doesn't bother me. I just think he makes the series even more unique and more special. And honestly, it's just the actions and the plot twists are so hard. Sometimes I struggle to keep up, and I have to like write it down and in my head, or even literally write it down, kind of what's going on in the important moments, because sometimes I cannot keep up, I'm not gonna lie. I think this concludes our second video, and I'm really happy how this turned out. Again, this is just yapping about books, and if that's not your thing, that's absolutely fine. But if you like it, just follow my book talk really for more book content and Swift content. And if you like to know about my personal life, just follow my Instagram and just see where it goes. If you like book reviews, just see my Goodreads and also see my Fable. I also post there daily. And I don't think we have anything else to say. If you like it, just give it a thumbs up, and if you have any suggestions, leave them in the comments down below. And I love you guys so much. I had again so much fun doing this. I'll hopefully see you in the next video. Mwah! I love you. Bye.